world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate your support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. Brian's done a great job with it. Can't compliment him enough. All of our episodes and interviews are on there from episode 1 to the weekly release. If you want to listen to our website, feel free to do so. We've done some great interviews in our past. It's a lot easier to find them in our interviews tab compared to like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So check out the website. We also have our store. You want to get some merch? We got some new T-shirts. We got a mouse pad. If you want to rep one of those at the office, I got one. We also have hoodies if you're still in a cold part of the country. So definitely check out the hoodies as well. And I'm going to shout out our social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with all of you. We love reading your comments, your questions. We love meeting, fellow horror fans who love our show, and it means a lot to us. And the last thing we'll shout out on our website is our Patreon. It's called Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. We just use that money, and none of it goes into our pockets. It just helps us pay for the podcast. It helps us pay for site hosting, pays to help make the YouTube videos. None of that stuff is free. So we truly appreciate all your financial support. It means a lot to us, and we fully acknowledge how tough times are. Or if you're a big fan of a movie, you want us to review it, we have one-time donations available as well. Just check out the website. Tonight is our second review in Women in Horror Month. I hope you guys enjoyed our my birthday bonus last week, Top 10 Women in Horror. That was fun. It was a nice little ranking episode, nice little breakup between film reviews. I had a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. But tonight is Brother Mike's pick, and I'm going to let him announce his pick and why he picked it. Go ahead, brother.
So because I really liked X when it came out, I was a big fan. Got really excited for this next movie that we're about to review, and that's Pearl, the prequel to X. The reason it's in Women in Horror Month is because of the fantastic job that Mia Goth does of acting in this film. Now, I know there's been, on the internet, I've seen about a 50-50 split on this movie, and I think we're going to have that on this show, which is very exciting, honestly. But what thing you can't deny is Mia Goth's performance is great. I mean, she really does a great job in this character, conveying emotion. She's terrifying in a odd way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I love High West. I love how he makes movies. I think it's a very unique film style, at least to me. And he kind of tried to make this movie feel like a 1930s, talkie movie or whatever. And I think, did a damn good job kind of having that aesthetic, that feel the whole time. There's plenty of stuff with this movie and The Wizard of Oz and, the Spanish flu and COVID. And there's so many different things in this one movie. Now, if you watch it on its face, it may not be the most entertaining movie. And so I understand that complaint that this movie kind of moves at a glacial pace. But I do think all in all, the performances by not just Mia Goth, but the surrounding cast kind of lift this movie up and carry it to me. So I'm excited to talk about it, man. I don't know. I love it because of the acting. I think that's my biggest sticking point.
Yeah, I'll go next. Big fan. I'm not going to harp too much here. Really like this movie, and I liked it more on the sequential watches. I liked it even more on my second and third watch. Thoroughly enjoy this movie. Mike said it best. Mia Goth does great, and so does everybody else in this movie, but it's really the deep dive into her character as Pearl that really just sucks me right into the movie. I'm engaged from time it starts to the time it ends. I'm a huge fan of the movie, and I'm looking forward to reviewing it. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, so A24 just continues to be just so hit and miss with me. I liked and I praised X. I gave it an 8.5. But I'm sorry, this one was just boring to me. Mia Goth gave a great performance, like you guys said, and honestly, so did Tandy Wright. It's well shot, as all A24 movies seem to be. The effects were tremendous, both CG and practical. So I'm not sitting here saying it's a bad movie, to me anyway. It's not by any means. I just got bored with it. I felt like the pacing wasn't that great, and it kind of suffered from what we talk about so much with prequels, that, some break free from this and some don't. This one to me didn't. We knew where it would end up for the most part, and it didn't do enough for me to get me to that point without a ton of quote unquote filler. I felt like, it just wasn't for me.
I pretty much completely agree with you, Brian. I mean, this is not to say it's a bad movie, because it's not. This is one of those weird instances, though, where I feel like if this was a standalone film and had nothing to do with a trilogy or whatever, I think I would like it more. But after we watched X, which I thought was a good enough movie, then we go into this one. I didn't need it. Like, I didn't need to do a deep dive on Pearl, because it was explained enough in X for me to be satisfied. Like, she's crazy because she wanted to make it big and she never made it off the farm. Boom. I didn't need almost 2 hours of explaining that same thing, especially considering the pacing in which they presented it to us. It was slow and it was boring at times. Now, like I said, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's beautiful. I thought the colors really popped on the screen, the way it was shot. I thought they did a great job of capturing the essence of, the 1918 era or what have you. The acting was phenomenal. The score is phenomenal. So everything about it is good. But to me, it's like, it felt so unnecessary in the grand scheme of things that I was like, And then you add to that the pacing. Not my favorite. Not my favorite.
Yeah, you like, I completely understand where you're both coming from with that. I mean, I really do. Again, I don't know if I love this movie for its entertainment value. I kind of, there are a lot of Wizard of Oz comparisons. I think in my brain, maybe I like them both for the same reason, and that is the filmmaking aspect of both of those movies, more so than the stories themselves. Like, the way these movies are shot and made and the stories that go into making both of those movies, I think is a really good, like a high up reason why I like the Wizard. I mean, I love the Wizard of Oz. I don't know if I've ever shared that on the show, but the reason I love it is because of the way the movie is shot and made, and how torturous that was, and the stories that you get out of that movie. And I just think it's kind of just a brilliantly made movie. I feel that way about this movie. You mentioned the colors, Dustin. That Technicolor feel that this movie gives us, I think, is really just, it's something I haven't seen in a while. So I think I really enjoy that, and the score, which I forgot to mention as well. So I get the boring label, though. I do. It moves at a very slow pace for sure.
All right, guys. Any more opening thoughts before we jump into the scene by scene? All right, cool. Tonight we're doing something a little different. Brian's going to do the scene by scene, and I'm going to be doing the kind of the analysis. So I'm excited,
What
Brian.
the hell?
Let's do it, brother.
You guys didn't inform me and Dustin on this. I quit.
If you check the group chat more than once a day, you've seen that.
I'm sure you liked the response at some point.
Yeah, I did. God damn it. A man can't even work anymore. Huh.
All right, well, let's get right into it. I'm excited. I'm excited for doing this. All right, so we open up on Pearl's Texas farm. We got to know so well in X, but it's shown unmistakably that this is 1918 with probably the biggest font they could possibly fit on the screen. The farm is rich with brilliant colors, and that's further driven home with the big soundtrack that we get as the credits roll. Pearl's dancing is interrupted by her bitchy German mom, Ruth, played by the wonderful Tandy Wright. Time to feed the animals, and Pearl couldn't give two shits about it, as she's still distracted by her longing for a more exciting life and her dream to perform. Her craziness starts to shine through, though, however, as Mia Goth plays so well when she fucks a goose up for literally no reason with a pitchfork and feeds him to Theta the alligator, just as we get a freeze frame and a title card. We are reminded that this is taking place during World War I and the Spanish influenza, as Pearl reads through the mail looking for a letter from her husband, Howard. We're also introduced to Pearl's invalid father here, played by Matthew Sunderland, who, sidebar, needs to do something about that IMDb photo, my guy. Looks like it was taken on a fucking potato or something. But anyway. Pearl appears to eat one bite of corn before she's forced to feed her father, before it cuts to her reading letters from Howard while she's in the bathroom bathing with her paralyzed dad chilling in his Professor Xavier wheelchair. That's from X and Nico and Mike. post-bath himself, it appears, as well. The next morning, Pearl heads into town to buy some more morphine for her father, but instead of heading home, she jolts into a nearby theater playing one of those moving picture shows, and it takes a few swigs of that morphine for herself, after which she's greeted by the projectionist, who immediately takes a liking to her as they both make small talk and smoke in the alley, and he cuts her a cell off the film with, comically, the biggest fucking scissors known to man. Go ahead, Nico.
All right, guys. Right off the rip, I love the music and the opening, the font used in the credits, and the colors, lighting of the farm. We meet Pearl in this dark bedroom with the spotlight on her as she practices her dance moves until Mama Ruth interrupts being a bona fide hater. When Pearl tosses the cow the hay, it made me think of Napoleon Dynamite telling Tina to eat the food. We see how she's dealing with isolation by performing and talking to the animals about her dreams because she can't talk to her parents about her passions in life. When Pearl kills the goose, my eyebrow goes up because women are typically more caring and nurturing than she feeds it to the alligator so nonchalantly. Back inside, Mama and Pearl are shucking corn, and it's just sad how bad Mama Ruth's outlook on everything is, even though it's understandable considering the times and everything they've gone through. The dinner scene, I just wrote, is so bleak. Poor dad can't even feed himself, just existing and not living. It's quite awkward realizing Pearl is reading this letter from her husband, Howard, and her dad is in the bathroom with her as she bathes. Like, turn Pops away from your view at least. Like, my God, it was very creepy. The talk of the flu, masking up, don't get too close to others' faces was very relevant to us with the recent COVID pandemic. Pearl decides to be a terrible person going to see a film and pops some of Daddy's morphine. Just kidding. I know she was probably going crazy and needed some type of joy and distraction in her life. She meets the projectionist who's named so accurately for many ways. My guy gives no fucks that Pearl is married, inviting her inside immediately. He does give a good message that I like, that you have to live your life as well. And I just wrote Pearl leaves smitten, and I knew she'd be back to black and white film and chill because she was just infatuated with my guy. I really like this opening set of scenes, but I'm pretty much invested from the time it starts to the time the movie ends. Movie looks beautiful, and I'm excited to get into the next set of scenes where Pearl goes into this field. Go ahead, Mike. That's all I had.
So this is the least amount of notes I have. Like, I do not have much on this set of scenes because it's a lot of title cards and a lot of music and Pearl's dancing and like kind of like Nico, I'm hooked on the performance of Mia Goth already, and it's not even so much what's happening. I'm into that character because I have an established connection with the Pearl character from X. So I immediately want to know where this is going. Now, I will say this opening set of scenes is a little too slow at times until Pearl actually leaves the farm. But I'll go with what I have here. So the open kind of makes it feel like it's one of those old 1930s, 1940s movies. And again, Brian mentioned the giant font. It's true. It's huge and comically big. But they do a good job capturing that essence. They really do. I like her mom here because I know she's kind of cold, but she's cold because during this time of World War I, German immigrants were not treated very well at all. And we find that out later, but I mean, if you learn about World War I, like, they were not looked at with, rose-colored glasses. Like, they were kind of held their feet to the fire everywhere they went. So I understand why her mom is this kind of cold.
You said feet to the fire. Are you foreshadowing?
Damn, I wish I had thought of that, to be honest with you. That was really good. She did. Okay. God, Dustin, spoiler, man. Jeez. But, you mentioned the goose. They made it seem like killing the goose was this, like, cold, vicious thing. Like, how serial killers kind of start out killing animals. But, I mean, it was to feed the alligator. So I'm not really sure if that was supposed to be as tense as it ended up being in hindsight. Like, I just thought she was giving the alligator some food. But taking a bath with your dad in there, like, I know your dad's sick and can't really help himself, but, like, I don't know, man. That was kind of an odd thing to see. Now, imagine walking in to this movie, this Dancing Follies or whatever the fuck it's called, and you're Pearl. And instead of showing someone in 1918 this movie, imagine showing them the fact that a bunch of 12-year-olds on TikTok can dance better than them now. I mean, if you just flip the phone around, her head would probably explode because the dancing in this fucking movie was terrible. I feel like me and Dustin could have gotten together and choreographed some better shit than that. That's
what you got to do with the Charleston, man.
Coach, do you dance at Charleston? Anyway,
I guess it's just fuck me and Nico. We can't dance, I guess, man. Whatever.
I don't know. I saw y'all at my wedding. I saw y'all at my wedding. I know who can't. Okay.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, I know. Dude, Brian looked so miserable dancing at the wedding. It was incredibly funny. It was so funny.
It was the best thing ever.
It really was. But the movie on the screen still looked better than Rubber. So that's, a step up at least. I would watch Dancing Follies over Rubber any day of the week.
Same.
I do like that they kind of, even though we know because we've seen X, they hit you over the head with the fact that Pearl loves sex. She has a high sex drive, and she makes it very clear by talking to the projectionist for 30 seconds. The projectionist kind of a piece of shit, but he kind of reaps what he sows at the end. So I don't really have much of a problem with that. Okay, that's all I had. Not a whole lot really happens until after this set of scenes.
So I love the score and the font choice. The font size is one thing, but the font itself is just so perfect for this era. And then, like we've already mentioned, the colors just pop so much. I think they did a great job of capturing the era just perfectly. And then, what the fuck, man? Why'd she kill that goose like that? I get what you're saying, Mike. She's feeding the alligator, but, the alligator is a wild animal. That motherfucker can fend for itself. You ain't got to kill no damn goose and feed it to it. That was a pleasure thing. That wasn't a necessity thing.
I like crazy, so I'm defending her actions.
Oh, no, not trust me. She reminds me of several girls I've got tangled up with. So listen, I get it. That smile in the end credits, I've seen that all too many times. But when we go inside and we meet her family, it's a pretty bleak situation. But then, there's just something so poetic about a vegetable eating his vegetables. And then when he, what? Anyway, she goes upstairs. It gets in the bathroom. I'm assuming upstairs, maybe downstairs, wherever. But she goes and gets in the bathroom with her dad in the room. I was like, man, that's kind of weird. Actually, that's really fucking weird. I'm glad you guys noticed that too, because you watch some other people talk about this movie. They just kind of gloss over the fact that she was butt ass naked in a pool or in a tub, flicking her leg at him and stuff. It's like, I get it. He may not be home, but it's still weird, man. And then I like when she goes into town. She's all excited to go into town and everything. My girl's sipping on some scissor and watching the movie. She just like me for real. I like it. But you can tell for sure. You can tell for sure when she meets the projectionist. It's like, all right, there's two things I know about her. Number one, she's crazy. Number two, she will definitely cheat given the opportunity, because this guy, he's nobody. He works at the movie theater. My first job was at the movie theater. You telling me that some random girl's going to walk in and just want to bang me because I worked at the movie theater? Man, how times have changed.
Hey, in 1918, I mean.
I get it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How times have changed. But it's not like he's connected to the movies. He can't put her on screen. And she's like, you know what? You're telling me what I want to hear. I'm going to come back and see you later. You get that vibe immediately. But I think it's a fine open. We get the gist of what's going on. We got a sick dad, a bitch mom, and she would definitely cheat on her war hero husband if it meant she'd get closer to the movies. So it establishes what we need to know.
Oh, yeah. Real classy lady.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? You guys ready for the next set of scenes?
Nico called her a classy lady in the text. I about lost my damn mind. Classy lady, my ass.
She said she was sorry. Let's move on. Come on.
Jeez.
Come on now.
All right. On the way home, Pearl can't get the movie or the projectionist off her mind, obviously, as she drops the man's film cell gift and, for some reason walks about 50 yards into a cornfield looking for the film cell that is probably a foot off the road. She stumbles across a scarecrow and proceeds to do a lot more than just stumble across it. Imagining it's the projectionist, Pearl dances, makes out with, screams at, and then eventually masturbates, grinding on top of it. Super classy. Back at Ye Olde Farm, Ruth is chopping wood like a boss, and after another quick bath scene with Pearl and Pops, capped off with a side of some elderly and disabled abuse as she pinches and chokes him, Mama soon discovers 8 cents is missing and punishes Pearl by withholding her supper, trying to teach her a lesson in German about being wasteful with money. Seemingly the next day, Pearl gets a visit from her mother-in-law and very rich, bubbly, and energetic sister-in-law, Mitzi, played by Emma Jenkins Perot. They drop off a pig, and Mitzi tells her about a dance audition for a traveling group at her church coming up, and they make plans to attend together. Later that evening, Pearl sneaks out and makes another visit to the traveling projectionist with no name, apparently. He takes her back to his projectionist room that doubles as a bedroom and shows her a French porn called A Free Ride, undoubtedly with a free ride on his mind itself. Pearl states that she can't abandon her family and that she wishes, quote, they would just die, giving us some hints about her mental state being not like other people. Go ahead, Nico.
Brian, I like how you wrote 50 yards because I wrote, to start this set of scenes off, it was hilarious. Pearl going 300 yards deep into this cornfield looking for this singular film frame. I also got PTSD thinking back on a movie I hate called In the Tall Grass.
I was just thinking about Nico. When I took these notes, I almost put, man, I bet Nico was having a hard time with that.
And I wrote, which you will not hear on don'tgoouthere.com anytime soon. I hope. Fucking hate that movie. It's so terrible.
Oh, I'm picking it now. Let's go.
Not even Patrick Wilson could save that shit. All right, now things get a little awkward as Pearl climbs up and throws this scarecrow to the ground. Very well acted, but quite odd. She dances with the scarecrow, kisses it, not just on the lips, the full tongue and everything, seeing the projectionist's face. She yells, I'm married in anger, but then shushes it and begins to ride it like a mechanical bull, living out her fantasies. Pearl was aching for a quaking in X, and 61 years earlier she was too, it seems. Our Mama Ruth is a wood chopper from way back as well. Shout out to Dustin.
Yeah.
I can see why Pearl hates her life, having to change her father's diaper. Jesus Christ, that was terrible. Back in the tub with Pop's present, still odd. This is a tense scene where she tests to see if she's still in there by pinching his skin and then choking him. And I wrote, Mom is wildin', not letting Pearl eat dinner because she bought 8 cents worth of candy, which equals $1.73 in 2023 with inflation. She gives Pearl a speech, and Mama is all about survive, and Pearl is all about thrive. I love the cut out the window as we see a shooting star and several stars in the sky after Pearl prays to be a star. I thought that was a beautiful shot. We meet Mitzi and her mom, the quintessential Southern belle. We instantly see Mama Ruth's pride as she doesn't accept the cooked pig. We don't accept charity. I like that. She's very true to herself. Mitzi tells Pearl about a dance audition, and Pearl glows with excitement. It's her way off of the farm and out of this nightmare. She sneaks out, and I love the way the farm, the field, the moon, and the theater are all lit, and they look. I can't stress enough how good the movie looks. The projectionist is thrilled to see Pearl as they share a toast. Pearl tells him of the audition, and he tells her a great line. You can do anything if you want it bad enough. He puts on the porn, and he tells her of the gypsy lifestyle, and you can feel how bad Pearl wants that for her own life. She just can't wait to be, free from this prison she's in. The projectionist walked so Wayne and X could run, as he says he wants to direct stag films. I struggle with his speech here because, yes, you want to live your life and you get one chance, but it's not simple to just leave your mom and dad who need you. I thought this was a really good set of scenes, Brian. Mia Goth, she's great in that first set that you read off, but she really takes off with that scene with the scarecrow. I really liked it. Even though it was odd, she kills this role, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Go ahead, Mike.
She definitely takes off with it.
She gets off with it.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. Hey, yo.
That's true.
Hey, yo. So I love the tracking shot that we get during this bike riding scene in the cornfields here. Also, it's just this very subtle thing, but Mia Goth her facial expression when Pearl kind of like snaps in her way, her facial expression just changes ever so slightly. And you can kind of see it when she loses the medicine the piece of film, my mistake. She loses that and goes absolutely crazy about it, but her facial expression changes just a little bit, and you're like, something is. Now we know something's off with Pearl because we've seen X, but if you just watch this movie first, this is a little bit odd. Like you both said, I literally put she goes about the distance of a football field into this cornfield to find this scarecrow. Again, more Wizard of Oz symbolism there, I guess. But I actually really love this scene, man. It's odd, it's strange, but it's so well acted. It's a bad NASCAR crash. I can't take my eyes off of it. It's just so odd. But where she yells, "I'm married," and the acting there is top notch. I just think it's really, really well done. but in my notes here, I put she masturbated with a goddamn scarecrow, which is hilarious because, I mean, we know that thing has no brain. So, okay. Anyway, look, the score during that scene is also great. It's a character in and of itself. The dancing part, for a minute, it almost feels just kind of like normal. Like, it's so well made that I just feel like, oh, this is kind of whatever. And then she starts to, throw it to the ground and stuff, and it gets a little different. But I put this woman is better at cutting wood than Dustin. So, I don't know how to.
Easy now.
I don't know how you felt that, but anyway, the scene where she's touching her dad in the bathtub again is very uncomfortable. Like, I don't know why this continues to be a thing that they do, but I'm not a fan of it. It's a little odd to me. I'm about to call CPS on the mom, though, man. You're gonna sing it, man. I don't care. Come on, man. You're supposed to protect your kids. Just, I don't know, give her a piece of bread or something. God damn, over a piece of candy? Jesus. That's a tough woman right there. When she gets on the bed to pray and she says, "Dear Lord," I thought she was about to go off into Jenny from Forrest Gump territory. That's literally how that starts. I was like, oh, man, that would be a really not very subtle nod for them to do, and one that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. I do like the character of the mom because she refuses the pig. She doesn't want handouts. Now, I understand that. On the other side, I'm like, hey, man, y'all out here starving. You might want to take this free pig, but even when it comes from family, she doesn't want this pig, and I can respect her views on that. I do think this movie kind of flips the rich and the poor. Like, normally you watch this movie, rich people are assholes, poor people are nice and sweet. You kind of flip this, man. I feel like Mitzi and her mom are pretty kind people, and Pearl and her mom are kind of like fucking nuts, man. So it's just a different way to view those two characters to me. I thought that was interesting. When she gets on this bike and rides back, she looks just like Miss Birch from Wizard of Oz, riding the bike in the hat. I thought that was really cool. I wrote, this is one old ass porn. That's this little nod where she says, I wish they would just die. The funniest part of the movie, or the one that got me the most, was him just kind of sitting back for a second and saying, pardon? I thought that was fucking hilarious. So I also love this set of scene. This is where the movie starts to really take off, and you get to see Pearl's kind of descend into madness, which is something we overuse on this, or I overused on this show, but not really another way to describe that, I guess.
So the Scarecrow looks creepy as fuck, but
Yes.
she had no reason to even see the Scarecrow because she went 5,280 feet back into the damn cornfield looking for that little thing. Like, that doesn't make sense. It flew out. You look over your shoulder and you see where it flies out, so you stop immediately and you get out and you either find it or you don't. But if you don't find it within the first 10 feet, probably give up. What the fuck was she doing? But, then it's like, why does she climb up there? And why does she kiss it like that? And then she fucks it. I sent a Snapchat to someone of just that scene of her fucking that Scarecrow. I was like, bro, I think I put on the wrong Wizard of Oz. But the funniest thing is...
No, you put on the right Wizard of Oz. Oh, my bad.
The funniest thing is like, if you were to take this as an interpretation of the Wizard of Oz, it makes that one scene in the Wizard of Oz make so much more sense when she tells the Scarecrow, I'm going to miss you the most. Yeah,
That's right.
We get it.
That's right.
Jezebel. But...
all the other people are standing there like, well, fuck us, I guess. Jesus.
When we get back to the house, yeah, you're damn right she's a wood chopper from way back. I ain't gonna lie, it got me a little hot and bothered watching that shit. Love a woman swinging an axe like that. Anyway, meeting the in-laws, I think is fine. I like how we're introduced to her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law here because it doesn't feel forced. Like they had a legitimate reason why to come over to the house. They're well-to-do. Pearl and her family are poor. The in-laws had been staying home because of all the scare. They didn't want to get out, and it's their first time out in weeks. So, like, it didn't. Sometimes in movies, it feels forced or unnatural to meet these side characters. And I thought the way that they were introduced felt very organic. That was fine, and it established something very vital to our storyline. So I appreciated that. And then, my God, this French porno had more Bush than the White House in the 2000s. Holy shit! But it was funny to me how this movie doesn't have one single curse word in the entire movie. but we get a black and white sex scene. Like, that's wild. But
I didn't even
and
realize
fun
that.
fact, I found out that the pornographic film shown is called A Free Ride from 1915. It's a real vintage stag film. The film's production is the subject of some debate, though. It surfaced in the 70s and was at one point sold by a shady distributor as a hardcore D.W. Griffith film from 1915, while silent film historian Kevin Brownlow has posited that it was made in the early 1920s, actually. So there you go, Mike. I dropped the title. You can find it from here.
There we go, buddy.
But I did, kind of give it the people's eyebrow when, after they're watching that, my man basically said, I'd love to watch you get your back blown out on film. Like, he told her, I would love to watch you in a porno. I have a question. Is that the 1918 version of telling a girl she should start an OnlyFans? That's basically what he just did right then. That's wild to me.
Pretty much.
Basically.
But, this is a fine set of scenes. We get further peek behind the curtain into how batshit she is, and we get some vital plot points established.
5,280 feet, Dustin. That did not pass me up. 1 mile. Atta
You're
boy.
welcome.
Very nice
You
little
pick
touch
this
there.
ball up, you run every one of them.
You're killing me, Petey.
All right, later that night, Pearl gets home and hears Ruth crying, showing us just how miserable and burdened everyone really is in this family. The next morning, Pearl is hitting her breaking point as she takes her dad to visit Theta, implying that it won't be long before she finally breaks and ends all of their suffering. She seemingly begins to concoct a plan, taking one of Theta's eggs and hiding it in the barn before pausing, talking to a cow, and returning to bust the egg in her hand, again symbolizing she's all but hitting her breaking point. When Ruth discovers the movie program Pearl took from the theater, we are treated to another lovely, cheerful family dinner that comes to a head with a Pearl and Ruth fisticuffs. Tandy Wright puts on a fantastic performance here, I think, and their physical and verbal altercation concludes with Ruth suffering severe burns and Pearl dragging her into the basement, all while leaving her father seated at the table for the rest of the evening. Sidebar, Pops seems to show a lot more emotion and motor skills here in this scene than we see the rest of the flick. I noticed that. He looks scared to death after what he just witnessed. So Pearl immediately flees in the rain back to the projectionist, and while it's not shown, it's implied the two have sex while her mental state is obviously floundering. Old No Name takes her home the next morning and is greeted with the now rotted, maggot-infested pig on the front porch, while Pearl feels bad about leaving her dad all night and hides him temporarily in what I assume is the parlor room. She takes the projectionist up to her room, trying to get some more booty, but he's done with that at this point and is starting to obviously see this whole thing was a mistake on both of their parts and seemingly realizes things are not as they originally were relayed to him by Pearl about her home life. When he tries to leave, Pearl snaps and gives him the old pitchfork double tap in the chest and throat area. She dresses her father up and then smothers him to death and disposes of the projectionist's car and corpse, psycho style, into the Theta's lake before heading to the audition at church. And the next set of scene is the ending. What do you think, Nico?
All right, it's really sad hearing Mama Ruth crying as Pearl sneaks back in the house. She's just existing, just like the father. This whole setting and house is just really depressing when you look at it. Now Pearl takes Dad to the dock on the pond and calls for the alligator. Jesus Christ, Pearl. Death by alligator is horrific. It's terrifying psychology to me to think feeding him to an alligator is easier to cope with than just running away from home. Luckily, Mama Ruth saves Pops, and Pearl asks why she hates her. She tells Pearl getting what you want isn't important. Making the most of what you have is best. I wrote that's a very glass half empty perspective on life, but sometimes life will do that to you. And Brian, I'm glad you wrote your symbolism thoughts on the alligator egg scene, because I wrote the scene with the alligator egg is very intriguing. You see her imagining Howard walking back to the farm, then she crushes the egg in her hand, and we see Howard explode. I took her crushing the egg as symbolic to her crushing her new life with Howard, because she's infatuated with the new life the projectionist has sold her on. I thought that was a very good scene. Another tense dinner scene, and Ruth shows Pearl the brochure she had hidden. She wants her to isolate, and she can't go to the audition. It's really sad seeing this mother-daughter dynamic. It's not easy to give good review of this scene to me. It's just two women putting on an acting clinic. The dark lighting, the rain, the tension make an incredible scene. Mom finally says how she feels. Everything I've ever had has been taken from me. Ruth's dress caught on fire fast as fuck, boy. She leaves her mama in the cellar, her helpless dad at the table, and runs to the man of her dreams. Pearl's nightmare scene and seeing her mama's disfigured face is great. She awakes in a panic, having to go to her audition. I like the line he gives her about how hard to tell who anyone is with the masks people are wearing. Another symbolic line. I feel bad for the father who's still helpless by the table, who hasn't and can't move. I wrote, the maggot-covered pig is beyond disgusting. And if I was him, I would have dipped right then. As soon as I saw that maggot pig, I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here. The awkwardness is thick as Pearl kisses him, and he's not into it at all, as we hear thudding noises over and over. I like the non-jump scare Pearl gives him as she explains it was the dog who made the mess. We're out on the farm now, and Mia Goth really gives an incredible acting display in the "what did I do wrong" scene. I love the full-on dive into hysteria. Bro tried to leave gracefully, but catches the old pitchfork to the chest. An underrated weapon in horror, in my opinion. Love the final stab where the middle fork stabs him going through the back of his mouth head area. I thought that was great. Pearl gets dressed up for Daddy one last time before she suffocates him. God damn. At least Pearl thinks he's going to heaven, though. Kind of don't like seeing the projectionist back in the driver's seat. I thought it would not be easy for her to just pick him up and get him back in there, but that's just a nitpick to me. Great set of scenes, and Mia Goth just gets better and better. Go ahead, Mike.
Got a fever, and the only cure is more pitchfork, baby, yeah?
That's not a bad walking. That's pretty good, buddy. Not bad. Okay. So, man, this opening with the mom crying is kind of a gut punch because you get to see some different emotion from this woman other than just being stern and mean. Like, she actually has another side. And kind of like Nico said, this woman is just existing. She's not living life. She's, like she says at the dinner table, she's basically become this man's mother. And that's not what she saw for herself. Again, she's very pro making the best of what you can. But, I mean, it was a very tough thing to see it. This doc scene, does mirror the one in X with Brittany Snow 100%. Like, that's really, like, literally where my mind went to it. So I think there's some symbolism there. I would be scared of her if I was her mom, but we've pretty much proven her mom's kind of a badass or a tough hard ass. So, I mean, she's probably not very scared. I mean, I'm not really sure why Pearl has basically a pet alligator, like she's fucking Betty White from that fucking movie who I'm drawing a blank on that we did. Sorry, I can't remember the name of that fucking movie.
Lake Placid.
Thank you, Lake Placid. Did I pick that motherfucker and I still couldn't remember the fucking name? Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, shit, man. That was a tough time. The dinner scene. This dinner scene is a masterclass of film to me. Not just the acting. Acting is great. Both women are fucking fantastic. Even the dad who, can't speak, obviously, but is making expressions and he's, becoming very emotional. All the acting is great, but it's not just the acting. The lighting is perfect. The lack of score is awesome. The thunderstorm going on in the back, I just love it. It's the quick cuts back and forth between the two of them. I just love that scene. I can't do it justice. Just go watch that scene. Everything is A+. The mom is a fucking savage though. Holy shit. Calls her a fucking failure. Says this how she feels every time she looks at her. It's just, whew, that's a burn. I mean, it's an uncomfortable dinner scene. It's not like Hereditary levels of uncomfortable where you're just like squirming in your seat as the mom and son kind of trade barbs. But man, it's pretty damn close. I just feel bad for the dad the whole time. He's just watching all this. I kind of want to know what the mom's dress was fucking made out of. If it caught fire that quick, I mean, good God, man. That's okay. I don't know what clothes were made out of in 1918, but that shit caught fire with the quickness. But the mom does steal that scene to me. It's kind of, she finally goes and has sex with this projectionist instead of using and abusing a poor scarecrow. And then she's about to ditch right after in the morning. And that man looked confused. Hey, man, I've been there, buddy. Sometimes you get ditched in the morning. It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. I'm sure some of you out there can relate. I got to tell you, I bet he wishes that she would have ditched big time because, pitchfork to the chest. I always, I kind of forget about the mask and everything because we're kind of far removed from having to wear them on a regular basis. So, like, the commentary on, like, wearing your mask did, like, catch on with me very well until, like, the second or third watch. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm guessing that's purposeful commentary because they filmed this during COVID. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It didn't register in my brain probably like it was supposed to. The rotting pig will be enough to make me turn around. Dude, I'm Grandpa Simpson. I'm in the door. I'm right back out the fucking door. I am not staying with that pig on the front porch. I don't care what the reason is. Mia Goth is great in the "What Did I Do Wrong" scene. She's so good in that. But I just love the face that this man keeps making as he's having serious second thoughts about the position he's in. He knows he's done fucked up. I mean, she blew her cover really quick by forgetting they don't have a dog, but like using that as an excuse to be like, what a dumbass. Like that's maybe the dumbest thing Pearl did in this whole movie. The funny thing is she says, "You're not going to take me to Europe, are you?" Hell no. We said that shit so you would have sex with him. Are you starting to see how this goes? He didn't like you. He just wanted some. You gave him some. He's not taking you to Europe. You've been used. The dad is great in this set of scenes because he is absolutely terrified of Pearl. He's crying. He's shaking. It's very noticeable, and it's really, really good. It makes it even more sad. And the line that she sends at the end with the "au revoir, poor Johnny," I thought was fucking hilarious. That was a really good line from Mia Goth. I hear it wasn't in the script. It was right off the cuff, so I appreciated that.
So, pretty cold-blooded that she was just going to feed her dad to the alligator like that. Like, damn, man, I get it. You want him to die, but she was about to dump his ass in the marsh there. That's pretty brutal stuff there. Now, I did think, I thought it was very ironic that Pearl's main goal in life, she wanted to be famous. She wanted to be a star. She wanted everyone to know her name. But she continually throughout the movie made remarks about being stared at. Like when she's laying in bed, she says that to the picture of Howard. She says it here. She said it to the animals, like, "What are you staring at?" or "What are you looking at?" And so that's pretty ironic there. Very intense scene at dinner with Pearl and Ruth. They got very personal with their insults. Like that shit's been festering for years. And I just like it was very well done. I thought the lighting, the mood, the direction was great, but the acting was just incredible between both actresses. That was phenomenal. And then as soon as that's over with, she goes on and cheats. I knew it. As soon as that happened, as soon as she pulled up to theater, I was like that Leo DiCaprio scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, oh, snapping and pointing at the TV like, yep, I knew it. But we get a great line here when he says when he's taking her home and she thought she saw Howard, walking down the road or whatever, and he goes, "It's hard to know who anyone is these days with all the masks people are wearing." Like that's just a brilliant line because like it's obviously at the time, which and it was very intentional that they picked 1918 for the setting of this with the Spanish influenza or whatever it was, and COVID. It's a lot of symbolisms there, but also the double meaning with the mask, because Pearl's wearing this mask. Everyone thinks she's fine, she's normal, but underneath she's fucking insane. And so I thought that was just a brilliant line there. Getting into the house. Yeah, if I see a rotten pig on the porch, I might not think too much about it because, it's a farm. There's going to be rotten carcasses. And it is what it is. But then you go inside, I might also draw some question or have some questions when I hear the thudding around and she's all, "Oh no, it's nothing. But then it was very kind of cliche of her being caught in the lie that she was when he's like, "What about your dog?" She's like, "Oh, I don't have a dog. You just said you had a dog." Like we've seen that scenario so many times throughout the years. But it was fine. I think it led to just an absolute brutal kill with the pitchfork, though. I thought it looked great. It was somewhat unexpected because up until now, the only kills that we got with her, her mom, which that had been festering forever, and the damn goose. And so really, and at this point, her mom might even still be alive. She was thudding around down in the basement. Right. And so I thought the kill of the projectionist who she had just, rode him like Seattle Slew, for her to kill him right here, I thought that was pretty shocking. But I think this movie does do a good job of tying together with X Like there's a lot of things that when you watch this movie, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's how it progresses in X. And her getting rid of the car in the swamp, like that's just a great example, because when they find the car in the swamp in X, it's like, oh shit, how often they done this? And so it just lets you know how long this has been going on, over 60 years apparently. But It's a fine set of scenes because the acting is so strong. But again, once I realized, damn man, like this is a horror movie. And really, like it's been pretty mild up until now. So,
Before you go, Brian, I just want to say, Dustin, I would agree with you about the pig if it wasn't a cooked pig inside of like a dish. If it was just like a regular pig that was just on the farm and it died,
but
just it being a cooked pig outside a dish, it would just raise the red flags for me personally.
But what would you think though if you see that?
I don't know. That's what scares me.
Because I'm thinking like if I roll up and I see that. And she's already told him that her dad's sick. So I'm thinking like, there's some kind of emergency. Someone dropped off a pig. Mom's inside and she's been, in the city fucking me. Pig gone bad. Like it's not too alarming to me.
Oof.
I feel you.
The smell for me would send me away. I don't think I could do it. Ugh.
All right, you guys ready for the ending?
Yep.
At the church, Pearl gives a performance that she believes is Grammy-worthy in her head, but is greeted with a cold reception by the judges a la Marty McFly's band audition in Back to the Future. All that was missing was the, "You're just too darn loud." She doesn't take,
kids are going to love it.
Yeah. She doesn't take, though, "We are looking for an all-American blonde," no, very well, and has to be drug away from the stage after her outburst. Mitzi accompanies Pearl home. While home, Mia Goth puts on another fantastic performance as Pearl confesses her mental state and resentment for everything in her life, including her ill will towards Howard for leaving her alone on the farm. She also admits to her affair with the projectionist and being relieved after her miscarriage. Her insecurities come flowing out as she comes completely engrossed in her conversation with who she believes is her husband. She admits to the murders and the joy she takes when committing them. She then cons Mitzi into admitting that she got the part over her and immediately regrets it as Pearl goes Patrick Bateman and axes her no more questions with a beautiful one shot of the track down and the murder. The movie ends with Pearl cuddled up next to her deceased mother while having flashes of her dismembering Mitzi's body and getting the house ready for Howard to return with another lovely family dinner, fresh with 2 corpses and a maggot pig. After a time jump, Howard is shown returning home to the horror that is now his life. The end. What you think, Nico?
All right, this is what I got the most on, but hopefully I don't take too long. I love how visibly stressed Pearl's face is at the church. It has to be me. The suitcases are for when I go on the road. I wrote, she's got that Deion Sanders level of confidence, or perhaps desperation. I love how she's not listening to Mitzi talk at all. She's locked in like a Notre Dame football player ready to hit the play like a champion sign out the tunnel. I love that. It's the moment of truth now. Pearl takes the stage. She looks completely stoic until the light turns on and she becomes the performer. She gives a good performance, then 1918 Simon Cowell just destroys her dreams with a big no. Mia yet again kills a scene with the "I'm a star" scene. Love that. Can't give her enough flowers for that. She has a cry like no other. I'm sure Dustin loved that. This is that "we got food at home" cry when you ask your mama for McDonald's when you was a little kid. This is her realization that I'm stuck on the farm forever. It's a devastating reality for a lot of us to accept when we don't accomplish our goals or our dreams. Mitzi joins her at the table trying to bring her to reality and calm her down, but Pearl is beyond devastated. Mia, yet again, gives another captivating performance in this 7-minute solo. Mitzi does a fantastic job with the facial acting as well. I have to admit, I died laughing on the first cut back to her face as Pearl says, "I hate you so much," about Howard for leaving me and she wanted him to die. It would be very easy to get bored or distracted in a scene like this, and I understand completely if you do, but she's captivating to the point I can't look away. I cannot imagine the thoughts running through Mitzi's head as she stands up to leave. I need to give Mitzi her praises as well. She does a fantastic job in this scene. And I feel like she has to know that this is Mia Goth's scene to shine in, but she still does great. Really like this chase scene, and I forgive the old horror trope of the woman tripping while running. I can imagine it being pretty hard to run in heels on a dirt path, so I give that a pass. That walk Pearl gives in pursuit is terrifying. In this moment, Pearl becomes her stone cold mother. Great line delivery. I have to make what's best with what I have. I love that line delivery. I do find it kind of hard to believe Pearl gives up on her big dreams because of one failed church audition. Mama Ruth's charred head looks great. Props to the makeup team. What a workshop. And damn, poor Mitzi. Fed to an alligator piece by piece. You hate to see it. This dinner scene is disgusting. Both dead parents and the maggot pig. Jesus Christ. Can't imagine what the hell Howard is thinking when he walks in on this. And what a better way to end the film than Mia Goth smiling and crying for 1 minute, 51 seconds straight. This is from IMDb, if this was a fun fact y'all had. That was unplanned, and Ty West refused to call cut. He just let her play the emotions out. Incredible ending to an incredible movie with one of the best performances we've ever covered on this show.
Yeah, man, I love that she gets just locked in, says this has to be me. It has to be me, you know, and I like the banter that Mitzi gives back to her, like, you didn't mean to say that out loud, Pearl. And Pearl's like, yes, the fuck I did, bitch. I did mean to say that out loud. It has to be me, and I love that. I love their banter. This switch where Mitzi says, you go before me, doomed her in hindsight. It absolutely did. Because maybe if they had both failed and Pearl knew that, okay. But, like, clearly that's not what happened. So I do feel like, hey, that would have been, if Mitzi had just gone to her original position, maybe they would have saved her. But I love their banter outside. Look, man, this scene is great from Mia Goth. The dance routine. It's, again, very 1918. It's not like the world's best dancing or anything. Kind of looks goofy, kind of looks funny. But it's really, I love how they throw the war stuff in the back, and it's got the dancing soldiers. Like, it's a really interesting, captivating scene to me. And then this whole I'm a star, you have to help me, I'm a star, it's so good. It really just, the acting chops are phenomenal. Like, I can't praise it enough. There's not a whole lot on this set that I can say because it's like you just got to go watch it. You just got to go watch the performance here. And I love how Mitzi, you know, kind of like tries to comfort her, care for her, because she clearly thinks there may be something wrong with her as well. Tries to kind of put her arm around her and, you know, lift up her spirits, and pretends to be Howard. And this monologue that Mia Goth gives is just untouchable. It's so good. I know horror's not considered for the Oscars all that much, but I really would have hoped this would have at least gotten some kind of love. Now, you have to submit your movie for the Oscars. I'm not saying this is an Oscar-worthy movie, but this performance very much so is. And this monologue scene just proves it. I mean, just the camera on her face for 6 minutes staring at us talking is normally boring as shit, but I was just captivated by what she was saying in the performance, and I just think it's great. I like, you know, all the, you know, the chase with Mitzi or whatever, that was terrifying. You mentioned Patrick Bateman. Yes, it kind of reminded me of that. But when they show the flashback to her getting killed, props to the effects department, whether that's CG or practical, I'm not really sure, but I thought the kill looked great. The body parts looked realistic. Like, I thought they did a great job with that kill, and they did a great job with the mom's, you know, burned side of her body as well at this dinner table. And that's just one more freaky thing, man, that made me so uncomfortable, that everything at that table is dead. Everything. The pig, the mom, the dad. Like, it's just so uncomfortable and fucking gross. It gets me the heebie-jeebies. And the end with the crying smile, I think is perfect. Again, it maybe lingered a little too long, but you could tell that was real emotion coming out of Mia Goth for playing this character, for, you know, getting really involved in the writing and the making of this movie. There had to be a lot of real release of emotion. I think it was fucking maybe one of the creepier parts of the movie for sure. So this last set of scenes, I can't give enough flowers to. I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome in the sense that it's well acted and everything, but I'll be honest with you, when they're sitting outside the church right here, when she's sitting out there with Mitzi waiting to go into the audition, this is when I had the thought, what did we need this movie? Because this is when I realized there's 35 minutes left in this movie, and I just don't care about it. And that's not to say it's a bad movie, because it's not. It's well acted. Like, I've sang enough praises throughout this review. Like, right. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it just felt so unnecessary, because it's like, you know, there was nothing that was revealed as like, oh, this makes X that much better. This makes much more sense. No, we got all the explanation we needed in X, to me. Now, I will say that in this last set of scenes, the gore and the violence definitely picks up. We got some great looking effects with, like you said, the charred mama, the Mitzi, the decaying pig, all that stuff looked great, but it was a little too late, too late for me, because like at this point we're an hour and a half into this movie, and we're just now getting this uptick in gore and violence. So it is what it is, but my biggest concern though is when Howard gets home, no shot I would have stayed with her. No shot. After walking in on that shit, and then he's just okay with his wife killing his sister, because we have to assume that over the next 60 years, he found his sister's fucking car.
Yeah.
And so to me, another reason why this movie seems so unnecessary is because it went so far deep into her origin that we didn't even get what happened after she snapped until X. So now we've got this 60-yard gap when she's actually crazy and she's actually committed to, she's a fucking murderer, and her husband's back home now. I would have been more interested in finding out how all that played out, how she convinced Howard to stay with her, how they progressed over the next 60 years to lure people in and tag team them and kill them, because that's what they alluded to in X, is that they were gangbanging couples and killing them. So I would have been more interested in that than what we actually got, I feel like. But that's not to take away from the performances we got from the actors, all actors and actresses involved, and director, all that involved in this movie.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Anybody have anything else before we jump into fun facts? Dustin, you got any some fun facts you want to read us, buddy?
I just got one, and it actually has to do with the look of this movie. So originally this was meant to be filmed in black and white, but A24 were against it, so it was made in extremely vivid color. Mia Goth claims another reason for the switch from black and white to bright colors was that the team felt like films being made in that way had become its own thing, and she and Ty West wanted to do something different and unique. And I agree. I think they made the right call, because I agree. When she had her little fantasies of her seeing herself on screen and it wasn't black and white, it just made it that much more special. It made it pop that much more.
That's fair.
I agree with that. But that was a good call. A really good call.
All right, Mike, this is where you do the budget.
All right. This movie was made for $1 million, asshole. Which was insane to me that this movie got made for $1 million.
That's crazy.
They shot it. Well, I think the reason they did is because they shot it back to back with X. And I mean, I'm assuming and using context clues when I say that some of that $1 million was just leftover money that they gave them to make X. So, a lot of the same, props and stuff were used to make the movie. So, same location, saving some money. So $1 million makes sense. And its theater run, this movie made $9 million. Now, I know that sounds like a flop, but given when it was released and given the fact that it still made $8 million without a ton of marketing, I think it's a pretty good stamp, especially for a prequel to a movie that I don't know how many people actually saw X during its initial run. I think it, kind of came out and caught on later. I thought that was a pretty solid number for a movie that's now going to be part of a trilogy, which I'm looking forward to the movie about Maxine.
Yeah, I actually am too. Read some social media questions here now. Let's go to Instagram. Alex1. Anytime I've heard anyone talk about Pearl, it's almost always followed up with a comparison to X, which I think is a mistake. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre apple versus an American Psycho orange. I don't agree with that. But I think the better way to view these films is as a companion piece that complement each other. That said, Pearl was entertaining as hell and was a perfect showcase vehicle for Mia Goth. Man, what a performance. Move over Toni Collette's dining room table monologue. Her pendulum swings back and forth so hard, yet she simultaneously maintains a balance between strange looking and beautiful, innocent and fucking nuts. So righteous and so very wrong. Ryan Lictro827. I wasn't a huge fan of X when I saw it in theaters, so I was skeptical of Pearl after seeing the after credit teaser for it, but man, was I wrong. I thought it was fantastic. Possibly Mia Goth's best performance in 2022. So far, lots of love here. Andrew Ferguson, Pearl might have won a spot on the dance tour had she had some eyebrows.
I said the same thing to y'all, I think.
Damn it. I love you, Mia Goth. Come on the show. You're beautiful.
It's like a white Josh Dobbs.
Lord almighty. All right, MS Stu 41. That monologue Pearl gives is a damn all-timer. Got to be one of the best acted in scenes in horror history, don't you guys think? I think we've already kind of said that.
Yeah.
Pretty much, absolutely.
A plus.
And that's it.
A24.
A24. All right, well, that's it. Time for favorite and least favorite kill and a rating. Nico, you want to get us started?
Yep, let's do it. Favorite kill, projectionist, great verbal confrontation beforehand, and the weapon and gore was great. Love that scene. Least favorite kill, I just chose poor Dad being suffocated. I just felt bad for old Dad. He didn't deserve it, but
that's true.
Hey, shout out to him. He did a great job sitting there. I feel like I've made myself clear in this review how much I love this movie. This is Women in Horror Month, and Mia Goth cannot be praised enough for the acting job she did. She deserved Oscar love, and I'm glad she called them out for excluding horror yet again. I love the look, mood, awkwardness, acting, the kills, everything in this movie. I have some very minor nitpicks, which I've mentioned, but I will not let that affect my score too much. We have to remember this movie was in the works while she was portraying and learning 2 other roles in another movie. That's so impressive to me. Mia Goth didn't get the love she deserved from the award shows, but she will from me. I'm going to give Pearl, Michael Settle, a 9.5. Thank you, Ty West and Mia Goth, and I can't wait for Maxine.
Woo. Wow. All right, I'll go ahead and go. All right, I got the same favorite kill and least favorite kill. Favorite kill is projectionist. It would have been just okay, but the final blow, I think, through the throat is what sold it for me. My least favorite kill was Pops. And first of all, let me get this out of the way. I know we joked about me, if I was raped by a huge dick from Scary Movie 2, that was my biggest fear of all time. Like I think we put that on the table. But
you don't let Brian talk for the whole show, and all of a sudden he's got big dick jokes again. Here we go.
Well, I mean, that's what you get.
It's a fear.
And I think later on I even said that being buried alive would be my biggest fear. Oh, nay. Being paralyzed vegetable with only mind working, a la Pops here, my greatest fear, definitely. But anyway, This is definitely just a movie I think that exists, which sounds worse than I mean it. You know, Mia Goth continues to give tremendous performances in her movies. And with this movie and X batting 500 so far in the series for me, I'm looking forward to Maxine as well, Mike, and seeing how he closed the series out, because I feel like that there's a lot that we're going to get to see with Maxine and her journey that I found myself wanting to see with Pearl. Like, when all is said and done, after the performances, cinematography, the effects, I'm giving it a 4.5.
All right. I'll go ahead and go. So my favorite kill was also the projectionist. I thought that it looked great. It was shocking. The tension leading up to it was great. Somewhat unexpected. But least favorite kill, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. The goose. Why the goose? What did the goose do to deserve that shit, man? That's just some psychotic shit.
Absolutely
but,
nothing.
As far as the rating and my general thoughts, man, it's not a bad movie, like I said. It's beautiful to look at. I love the score. I love the font used throughout. I love the way the opening credits and the end credits were shot. It feels like an accurate depiction of the time, but it was just such an unnecessary movie to me. I didn't need to know Pearl's backstory, especially since it was, for the most part, uneventful. We saw the wrong parts of the backstory, in my opinion. Yeah, she killed a few folks, and she's clearly batshit crazy, but like I said, all that was pretty much explained in X, making this film not needed. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it was, it had that sin, that unforgivable sin in movies. It was pretty boring. I can't give it anywhere above a 5.75.
Okay. I actually had the same favorite kill, but I'm going to go different just so we all don't have the projectionist and all that. But I went with Mitzi as my least favorite kill, actually, and my favorite kill. They're both the same. Here's why. My least favorite kill, because I didn't want Mitzi to die, because I wanted her to call me sometime. But is my favorite kill because the effects in the gore are fantastic. are so good when they show exactly what happened to her. I thought it was great. I praise this movie enough. Like Mia Goth is fucking awesome. She has a great supporting cast around her. Beautifully shot movie, well made, just all around the sound, the sets. I just love it. I love this ex Ty West universe that he's created. And so I have high praises for both of these movies so far. I'm really excited for Maxine. But all in all, I gave X a 9.5. I would put this a little bit below X, but not by much. I gave this movie a 9.
All right, so a 9 from you gives us a composite score of a 7.1875. IMDb has it at a flat 7.
All right, we were close.
Not too
Look
bad.
at us. Look at us. Almost like we know what we're doing. You know, unless they disagree with us, then fuck them. Let's go.
All right, guys. This was fun. Brian,
Yeah.
what'd you think? How'd you like doing scene by scene?
I love doing it. I mean, I don't know how the fans like me doing it, but I love doing it. I like to switch it up every once in a while. I think it's a good thing. Maybe we can continue doing it.
I think you did great.
Yeah, you did great, buddy.
Hope I did
Y'all did
okay.
great.
Oh yeah,
You did,
Fans,
man.
if I suck, please tell me I did. Then I'll stop doing that.
No, you were great, dude.
But I'm going to just shout out our blood donors, and then I'll announce my pick for next week. Do y'all have any final thoughts on Pearl before I do that?
No, man, we're good.
All right, great pick, Mike. I loved it. This has been a fun month. I'm excited. Shout out our blood donors. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big burden off of us. Camper level reoccurring, Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, and Brian Samick. Camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, Clay Moore, Karen, Matt Strickland, and Gail Kuntz. And we also have a legendary blood donor film review, and that is also Mr. Matt Strickland. Really appreciate y'all. I can't stress enough how big of a burden y'all take off of us. My pick for next week is Last Night in Soho. I'm a big fan of this movie. It's one of those movies I kind of just watched on a whim. And I feel like we have to give not only Anya Taylor-Joy her praises, but Thomasin McKenzie does a great job as well, too. So I hope, I think she'll get all her flowers from all of us next week, but all the people who watch the movie, give her flowers, too. She does a great job, but absolutely. I know Anya's kind of the big name in horror right now, so I'm excited about it. Any final thoughts, guys?
Oh, good, man. I'm excited to do that one. Very excited.
All right. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners again. Really appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good one.
I'm a star.
Just want to remind everybody.